برای ارجمند خانم ها و آقایان، تشکر از لطف همکاری شما که امشب تشریف آوردین به خاطر که اعلام همدردی بکنیم با هموطنان خود در افغانستان. به خاطر از اینکه پروگرام شما خوب و صحیح پیش بره و موضوعات پروتکل‌های کرونا و چیزا هم هست، در این قسمت ماسک تهیه شده. اگر هر کس ماسک نداره میتونه بیای از اینجا بگیره و در این حال یک کمک پستر استاد شیم، همین پیش روی رو خلوت کنیم که باز بخیر میهمانان آمدن و جناب پرمیر هم حالا میاین. باز محفل شروع میشه رس ساعت 6 بجه. یک کمک اگر پستر استاد شین که همین قسمت خالی شه تا کلگی بتونن ببینن. تشکر از شما و تشکر از اینکه تشریف آوردین تا اعلام همدردی کنیم.
خب بینگان تلویزیون فردا هم چنانی که تماشا می‌فرمایید، امروز باز یک بار دیگر جامعه افغان‌ها در استرالیای جنوبی دور هم آمدن و در به خاطر همیاری و همکاری با مردم افغانستان و به خصوص در این حوادث آخری که اتفاق افتاده جمع شدن امروز یک بار دیگر در استرالیای جنوبی در شهر ادلید. همچنانی که می‌بینید یک تعداد زیادی از خارجی ها و یا کسایی که خب افغانان نیستن اینجا هم تشریف آوردن. قرار است که تا دقایق دیگه انشالله این محفل به طور رسمی شروع بشه، آغاز بشه. و مقامات امروز اینجا آمدن به شمول گورنر و شمول پریمیر و یا والی این شهر انشالله اینجا امروز میاین و ایسا خواد گرفتن دیگه. به او اساس ما گفتیم باش که یک چند دقیقه قبل از اینکه برنامه شروع میشه خدمت شما باشیم. همچنان که میبینید حزب مخالف استرالیای جنوبی همینجا هست و همچنان که میبینید خب جوان ها، دختر ها، بچه ها دور هم جمع شدن و بالاخره به نوعی میخواین که ابراز تسلیت بکنن. یا از آقای پریمیر که تشریف آوردن. Welcome Premier. Fahim, nice to see you again. دیگه کل چیز داره به خوبی پیش میره تا با فعلا. انشالله که آره دیگه فکر میکنم که چند دقیقه بعد یعنی کومسه و خیر جان جور باز چینج کردی کل چیزه. انشالله
مردم به حمایت افغانستان جمع شده و خاطر مردم افغانستان تشکر از شما که هر وقت من جمعیت برنامه را میگیری برای مردم نشر میکنی. تشکر دارم.
زنده باشی. ماشاءالله کت از این کالا تو خوب معلوم هم میشی کت کالای افغانی.
تشکر.
انشالله که سلامت باشی. تشکر.
آقای فهیم پرنسپل تبتون آمده با همکارات میشه به امروز سیت بشینن؟
رضایت میشه یک دقیقه به ما بگین چی گپ هست امروز اینجا؟
محفل شمع افروزی است به افتخار یا به نشانه همدردی با هموطنان ما در افغانستان.
ماشاءالله خوب است. نفر
بله.
خب بخیرم شروع میشه برنامه.
مردم از پشت سر میاد.
امیگه به شمع خالی کنه.
رضایت
مدتی مردمای طرف ما ساعت خاص از این طرف فدراسیون کنیم نخورا دقیق پاکستان
بله بگین
طرف باشه.
اما عباس پیدا کن قیمت بتون روشن کن.
عباس آقای توفیق روشن کن میگم.
Good evening, everyone. If I could have all your attention, please. Just some house rules. If we can all please stay a little further back from the candles. Thank you. Thank you all for joining us this evening to stand in solidarity with the people of Afghanistan. I would like to first acknowledge that we are meeting on the lands of the Ghana people, and we pay their respects in the past, present, and emerging. I would like to also welcome our guests this evening for joining us tonight. The Honourable Stephen Marshall, Premier of South Australia, Mr. Peter Malineskis, Leader of Opposition of South Australia, Ms. Zoe Beddison, Shadow Minister for Multicultural Affairs, Ms. Andrea Michaels, Shadow Minister for Consumer and Business Affairs, Ms. Adriana Chrysopoulos from SAMAC, Chairperson of SAMAC, Tim Whetstone, Member for Chaffey, Ms. Eugenia Solis, CEO of AMRC, and Ms. Kate Leaney from Welcoming Australia. I thank you all for joining us tonight on this very important matter. I would like to now introduce Mr. Atai for a Quran recitation.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والسابقون السابقون أولئك المقربون في جنات النعيم ثلة من الأولين. أولئك المقربون
ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. جوان الصلاة.
Thank you, Mr. Atayi, for the Quran recitation. I would now like to introduce Mr. Hussein Rizayat, the President of the Afghan United Association, to speak a few words on behalf of the Afghan community.
Dear friends and fellow community members, sadly, Afghanistan entered the darkest chapter of its history. Every single members of the community here in Australia and abroad are shocked and expressing fear and sorrow for what had unfolded in Afghanistan during last many days or so. We are humbled by warm support and company that we have received from wide Australian community, including our political leaders at federal and state levels. Attendance of Honourable Stephen Marshall MP, Premier of South Australia, Mr. Peter Malinaskis MP, Leader of South Australian Opposition, and many other VIP service providers, community leaders and media representatives today are some testimonies for their support. We are grateful of your support and looking forward to your continuing advice and support in helping our people in Afghanistan who got hostage by the Taliban and their supporters. Taliban does not need to be introduced. They are well known by their harsh and discriminatory interpretation of Sharia. They are well known by their inhuman approach towards women, ethnic and religious minority groups, and their opponents. They are well known in violating basic and universal humanitarian rights, values such as the right of life and liberty, freedom from slavery and torture, freedom of opinion and expression, the right to work and education, and many more. Everyone is entitled to this right without discrimination, but Taliban never recognized and adhered. Even during last 20 years, they have become worsened as they have been deeply influenced by the ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Haqqani network, and many other terrorist organizations. It would be naive to think that the Taliban have changed and abandoned their barbaric beliefs and ideology. Nowadays, Taliban is sending contradicting messages from Afghanistan. Speaking with media, they announce amnesty and general effusion. But in the ground, they are looking and knocking door to door, searching for political, cultural, military, and social activists. They are ordering everyone to behave within the Sharia framework that they have introduced and interpreted. As proud citizens of Australia, we are expecting from Australian government and our political leaders that do not let Afghan citizens down being persecuted in Afghanistan again and again by the Taliban. We are expecting that the Australian government, in conjunction with other international counterparts, to assist Afghan citizens by rescuing those individuals at higher risk to safer places, increasing humanitarian intake, speeding family reunion processing, allowing those on temporary visas to stay in Australia permanently, providing humanitarian aid to the displaced people, and pressing Taliban to preserve humanitarian rights and values. Once again, on behalf of South Australian Afghan community, I thank you for your support and friendship, and we are looking forward to work with you in conveying stressed voices of people of Afghanistan for help to the world and wider Australian community. Thank you.
I would now like to introduce Mr. Honourable Stephen Marshall, Premier of South Australia, to the stage. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. I too would like to acknowledge that tonight we meet on the traditional lands of the Kaurna people, and that we acknowledge their ongoing spiritual relationship with this precious land. And I would also like to acknowledge my parliamentary colleagues, including the Leader of the Opposition, the Honourable Peter Malinauskas, members of the SAMIAC Board, former and current defence personnel, fellow South Australians. Tonight, we have gathered at this vigil to reflect on the deeply distressing situation that is unfolding in Afghanistan. I know many have watched in horror the images coming out of Kabul and right across Afghanistan at this time. Images of despair and desperation. And I know fears remain for those in the country, especially women and children. There has been reflection and disbelief right around the world about what has happened. But tonight, the South Australian community stands shoulder to shoulder in solidarity with those that have been affected by this conflict. Our thoughts are especially with our South Australian Afghan community and also our serving and ex-serving communities. To the Afghan community who have been through so much already, know that we will do everything we can to support you and your loved ones during this incredibly challenging time. Know that yesterday at National Cabinet I discussed the situation in Afghanistan with the Prime Minister. I offered him any assistance that South Australia could provide to help Australia's response effort. South Australia will likely receive repatriation flights this coming week, and we have also been advocating for an increase in our humanitarian intake. The Prime Minister confirmed that addressing the situation in Afghanistan is a priority for the government and will remain so as events unfold over the coming days, weeks and months ahead. To our community serving and ex-serving ADF members, please know that your work and dedication to the mission in Afghanistan and the Middle East will always be appreciated and will not be forgotten. I know that many of you served alongside Afghani soldiers and translators, and you fear for the friends that you made while despairing for the ones that you have lost. We thank you for your service. Likewise, to the families and communities that have to continue to support our serving and ex-serving members, your tireless support for your loved ones overseas has been and will continue to be admired by South Australians. I encourage all South Australians to reach out and support those in our community who have been impacted by this terrible news. Thank you to all of you who have come out tonight to reflect on what has happened and to support your fellow South Australians. I know that we all hope that peace will be upon Afghanistan once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Stephen Marshall, for your ongoing support and for standing in solidarity tonight with the people of Afghanistan.